he's in the same room as me, and it's just going to be weird for him to be on YouTube because it'll be a 7-second delay, right?
Right.
So he's going to come in and we can at least chat there. We are live 10 seconds in already.
Holy moly.
That's how fast it happens. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is man known as Paul, and I've got Dea with me. We are talking about masculinity. We're having a round table to discuss the state of masculinity and what is it we can do together as men to become leaders in our families, in our communities, and leaders of ourselves. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I've been trying to teach people for the last 3 years is more self-ownership, more agency, more self-governance. And I truly believe that, to the degree that we can self-govern is the degree that we don't require anybody to govern us at all. The moment you pass up self-responsibility or self-governance to someone else, you're passing up freedoms as well. And right now, we can all agree that most of the world is being directed in a very negative path. And in order for us to turn that ship around, it doesn't require the right leader in a political situation. It doesn't require the right company to come along and create some perfect, free speech platform that's going to save us all. No, the way out of this is by taking back our own self-responsibility and self-governance. So we're going to bring some people on as well. If you are watching live, again, thank you so much. Leave a comment. Or if you wanted to email me, manknownaspaul@gmail.com, I'd be happy to share with you an invite link where you can come in and actually enter the round table. I didn't send that link out just because, well, it's kind of private. We want to make sure that the people that are watching are going to be engaging with us. And so definitely send me an email, manknownaspaul@gmail.com. I've got that open on this screen here, and then I've got the round table up on that screen. I'll see it come in, and I'll make sure to reply with the address that you would come and join in on this. But that's the intros. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dea, for taking the time here on a Friday afternoon. I mean, you could be doing more important things, right?
Not more important than this.
Not more important than this.
Yeah, this is the most important. Yeah, I think it's the most important because we're starting the process of reestablishing a cultural narrative and a cultural shift. We're kind of in this really special time in history where we're about to enter into this. There's going to be a great demand on a different kind of energy, and I think that's what makes this so important is that the men that are feeling that urge inside of themselves to start to to meet that call of masculinity and connecting to themselves and taking on that greater responsibility. We need those men to start coming in, and we need to start having those conversations around what the solution is and how we can best position ourselves in a way that is going to move us forward into the future in a really healthy and beneficial way to all of the people in our world, right? Yeah, and I want to kind of preface, like, everyone who's here, I'm very grateful for that, and I want to hear from everybody. I think engagement, you mentioned that in the beginning there, Paul. Engagement's going to be so important, and the community that we've built, the ManCraft community and the Discord there that you're going to be able to sign up for. We're just in pre-launch right now, and we want to get everyone in there. We want to get you engaged. We want to get you introducing yourselves. We want to hear what you have to say about where you think we're going and how best we can do it. We're going to be doing this as a brotherhood, as a tribe. We need to stick together while also, propelling our individuality as well in how we express masculinity. And so, it takes a tribe. Yeah. With that said, my purpose has been very much about creating this and doing this with, the help of some other very, very powerful brothers and, that have helped to bring this to life. And I want to make it clear that I feel called to lead it. I do not have all the answers. I'm just as much on this path as everybody else. And I've been pouring most of my time and energy into learning as much as I possibly can, and just doing my very best to embody everything that needs to be done, everything that I believe in as far as the direction that masculinity needs to be taken to improve the circumstances that we're looking at. You probably noticed that the link that you got to sign up for this said defy the woke, and that's really what we're here to do. And there's my belief around why that's so necessary is that I believe the woke culture that's currently going on, I think it is breaking down the fabric of our society and our people. And I think if you talk to anybody, you're going to notice that, like, I don't think there's too many people that are like, oh yeah, society is going so great right now. People are really thriving. People are, their mental health is doing really well. That's why, we have all this drive and push and focused effort on improving people's mental health. But I think we're maybe a bit confused in how best to do that. And I think it's because the woke culture doesn't recognize that this trajectory that we're on, it is actually the thing that is deteriorating our mental health. It is this drive to choose equality and other people's feelings, and this collectivism is really starting to have it's starting to weigh down on the individual, which is ironic in a lot of ways. It's also, I've been thinking about it quite a bit, and I've been doing a lot of listening and reading, and it feels to me like the whole woke movement is quite nihilistic in nature. It defies life. It doesn't actually want us to embody the vitality of existence and the power that we have within ourselves. And that goes for men, women. It goes for everything that we're doing. If we continue, I believe, on this track of progressive wokeism, we are very quickly going to be moving into a place where we are deteriorating our species, whether that is, decreasing the strength of our genetics and our capacity to be the strongest version of ourselves, or whether it's straight into oblivion, where we are no longer reproducing, or we're more focused on, I don't know what I was talking about the pro-choice and pro-life movement. And it's important to remember there's a lot of nuance in all of these things, but the underlying message that's being had, or the argument that's being had, is that there's no life there. And I think we really need to start to shift the trajectory and the belief and the narrative, that underlying flow of belief that life it should be affirmed, and we should be driving ourselves forward in that direction. And as men, that is our job. We are supposed to be here to protect. We are supposed to be here to guide, to lead, to move us forward into a space where, it's a beautiful place to bring our children into. And we should be proud to do that. We should be able to support the women in our lives and honor them in such a way that they feel blessed and most supported in bringing that life. And they should be able to recognize how incredible it is, the gift and the divinity of being able to give birth, to host life, and then bring it into the world. And regardless of the circumstances of that, we need to come together so that, like, we're not going to stop the the violence of the world, or the evil of the world necessarily. Awful things are still going to happen, but if we are able to come together in the majority and have some sort of unified understanding of how to connect our masculinity back to nature, we're going to be able to create a safe space, a structured, protected harmony for our women, even in pain, to still love and want to bring life into the world. Mm-hmm. And the more that we hold each other accountable in those areas, and the more we are taking responsibility and living in that, the more we're living in that very integrated, very honored, very divine masculine, the more we're going to be creating, like, we're going to be weeding out a lot of that behavior. We're going to be holding each other to a higher standard of excellence.
Yeah. So
it's
a couple of things you mentioned that really stand out for me, is that idea of equality. None of us are equal. Like, look at just these. We got 3 people here now on the call. We all look different. We talk differently. You have different builds. We've got different strengths, different weaknesses. There is no equality. It's a fallacy to believe that there is such a thing, and to force everybody into it actually requires a devotion to nihilism, right? No, well, it doesn't matter what it is that you think that you're good at, or it doesn't matter what uniqueness you might think you bring to the table. Equality is all that matters, and to force people into boxes like that is it literally necessitates you to believe that we're just a hunk of cells that happen, have a happenstance of being able to walk around,
Yeah.
And the other thing too that really I'm teaching a lot right now is this defiance. We are right now, especially, being bombarded with the message of, do not comply, do not comply, do not comply. And I get why. The unified non-compliance movement is something that's real. There's no question about it. However, wokeism has had quite a bit of momentum, and unchecked momentum. And that momentum now, I believe, is so great that it's not about not complying with it. It's about defying it. The Salt March in India. People think that was Gandhi teaching the people how to enact a unified non-compliance, peaceful non-compliance. No, that's not at all what he was doing. Like, the people weren't allowed to buy salt except from British vendors, and there it was in the ocean, and they literally live on a peninsula with ocean all around. They could just go and get salt whenever they want, but there they were, thinking that they had to just follow the rules. And what he did with the Salt March was going from town to town, walking towards the ocean, talking to people, singing songs of freedom, and telling them the principles of self-governance, teaching it to them. And then people from those villages would join in the march, and they walked all the way to the ocean and got salt. See, that's not unified non-compliance. See, non-compliance would be like, don't buy from those people. Well, where are you going to get your salt from? Right? No. This is about defiance. We have a pandemic in our culture, and I probably hit a keyword, and YouTube's going to flag me and whatever else. but this disease is eating away at our culture. It's eating away at our families, at our communities, and it's actually I would say even watering down the richness and beauty of life. And it's time for us to say no more. And we stand up and create a new world. And that's what men do. We create new things. We take our environment and we make them bend to our will.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the driving motivations behind this. And I think we're not alone in this. There's a lot of different groups that are coming together and working as, collaboratively as men in brotherhood, and some in alignment fully, and some different, have different offsets and different beliefs. But I think ultimately the goal of this is that when we are in our masculine, when we are really embodying that becomes so much easier, right? It becomes almost like it necessitates it. Like we need to push back against what's happening, and not in this cancel culture bullshit where we're like, oh, I'm not going to buy that. They shouldn't exist anymore. No, we're just going to create our own way of doing it, and we are just going to take control of it. And this has happened throughout time. Like this isn't some new idea. Mm-hmm. This isn't it's just that over the course of this iteration of our culture, as it's been marching forward, has been slowly defanging our men and creating us into docile creatures where we feel afraid, or we feel, some of us are even hijacked early on, like, because we no longer, like, we're going to talk about this a lot in the community as well. And we'll talk a bit about tonight, I think, initiation. We don't have any space for men to, make that transition into manhood and what it means to actually be a man. And that's not an accident. We decided we were gonna be civilized and we're gonna have our industrial revolution, and we're gonna all move into cities, and we're gonna go to school, and throughout that process, we're gonna take away the initiatory process for our young men, and we are going to take away those lessons that allow for them to build strength, allow for them to understand the immense responsibility of being a man in our culture and society. And we're going to put them into schools where it's anyone's fucking guess how they're going to figure out what it means to be a man, how they're going to figure out how to like find purpose in their life and what that means inside of their soul, inside like we have this burning desire and need to create meaning, but if you have nowhere to put it, you end up, like, for me, it came out in social justice when I was in my 20s. I became a fucking vegan for women. I was like, oh, I'll become a vegan because it's a movement I can fight for. It means something.
Yeah.
Like, I can drive myself towards it without questioning it, without like realizing that it doesn't actually take anything from me. It doesn't require anything of me. It doesn't need me to be, it doesn't test me really. I don't really have any stake in the game. I could just walk away. It's fine. Like, or I could achieve it. I could be successful in my veganism, and then I can really, march around with my banner of virtuous masculine or virtuous member of society, and that gives me this felt sense of accomplishment or fulfillment in my purpose without it actually having any real fucking meaning at all.
Yeah.
And there's been, and I speak from experience with this, and I would be curious to hear from everyone listening, like what if they've had any experience similar to this, because I think it becomes really easy for the culture, for the entropic, energetic force of our woke culture that's been building over the course of the last few decades at the very least, like in increasing in momentum. It becomes very easy for that force to hijack young men and take them off track and give them these bad ideas of what their purpose is, and it's not actually theirs at all. And I think we're starting to see that the toll of that. We're seeing a lot of men in my age, in their mid to late 30s, and they're realizing that there's something missing. There's something not quite right. And they're not sure where to go with it. They're a bit confused about whether it's too late, maybe, whether they're able to stand up. Like, there's, again, the fear of cancel culture is pretty real for a lot of people right now. They're afraid to say what they are maybe thinking or feeling. Or it goes the other way, and we get the Antifa members who are deciding to go and march against I would call it rational thought, and they're choosing to call themselves allies and advocates for the progressive lunatics that are trying to destroy the fabric of our society. I mean, and obviously that's biased. That's my opinion, and I think that whenever I get into a conversation or an altercation with somebody with a man who is on that side, they are not really willing to fully invest in what's happening, and that tells me, like, when someone backs away or they aren't willing to. This is a good. Bear with me. This maybe might be spicy or extreme. But I don't believe that if you aren't willing to die for what's in front of you, for what you believe in, I don't believe it's for you. I don't actually think you're committed to it. And so, like, when I get into a conversation with these people, I don't think they're actually willing to die for it. I think as soon as they meet any sort of pushback, or they receive a slap in the face, or I hurt their sensibilities just a little bit too much, they'll cut cord and run. It's fine. I'm not.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, idiot. They'll leave. They resort to ad hominem, and they go because they don't actually believe in it. There's no stake in the game, like I said before, right? Like there's nothing substantial. Yeah. Whereas if I go somewhere and if I'm there, I'm willing to die for it. Like, I'm not going to bother wasting my energy or time. Like, this movement is so important to me that if challenged upon it, I will fucking meet it. And that's masculine essence. Like, are you, whatever it is that you're doing in your life right now, are you doing it with everything you have? And if you're not, why the fuck not? Like, why are you choosing to take half measures or to invest any of your fucking life and energy into something that isn't fulfilling you, that isn't progressing our species, or that isn't at the very least progressing your own fucking life and happiness and growth?
Yeah. No, it's so true. And that, that ties back in with the nihilism, right? That if you feel like what you're doing is deeply rooted with purpose and you're driven to have it done, the nihilism goes away, right? But that, if that nihilism creeps in, well, then you're not going to be all in. You're going to have doubts about what you're doing and whether or not it's something that's important. You lose gumption, you lose your own initiative, sense of initiative in the work that you're doing, because, well, it's not that important. And again, that's something that ties in with what Noah was saying on Wednesday, that the reason why boys are boys is because they don't have a stake in the future, right? We've been conditioned to think that we're just these floating collection of cellular systems that doesn't have a deep purpose. There's no spiritual experience, or that that we're just aimlessly flying through this vacuumous space. You're going to feel like there's no future. So you're not going to behave like a man, right? Men have a stake in the future. They know that there's something coming for them, and that whether it's death or abundance, it doesn't matter. That's what drives men forward, is this idea that we have a stake in the future and we've got shit to do.
Well, it's most certainly death. It's not maybe death, right? Like, we are like a man and not a boy. A boy doesn't understand his mortality yet. And like, if you move that energy into your manhood, into your elder years, and you have no understanding of your own mortality and the fact that this is going to end and you're going to die, and what fucking legacy are you leaving behind? Like, obviously you're nihilistic. Obviously it's like, right. Like, I'm going to live forever still in my mind. Like, what I do today is inconsequential, whatever. Like, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Or I'm gonna just feed my desires instead of, chiseling myself into the best fucking version of myself. I'm just gonna relinquish to the fucking flow. And that is, it can't be done that way unchecked. Like, we need to have that relinquish into surrender and flow is beautiful when met with the structure and container and discipline of the masculine. Like, that creative flowing energy is feminine in nature, and it's great. It just can't be the thing that guides the entire existence of an individual, a community, a family, and certainly not a fucking culture. Like, there needs to be structure. There needs to be discipline. There needs to be some sort of vision for legacy for the future. We can't just there's so much fucking irony in the woke movement. Like this, like they bang their drums about and choose any movement. Like, even the climate change. Like, they're like, oh, we need to save the planet for our children. Well, who gives a fuck if they have a planet left? If they don't have a culture that supports them, if they don't have a legacy of of humanity left to support them, like, we're just going to devolve all of that in favor of wherever you believe things are with the climate change thing. Like, if that is real, and we have, as old Greta says, we got 10 minutes left until the end of the fucking world. Well, like, it doesn't matter unless we're willing to support the children that are coming forward. Like, unless we are willing to build a legacy, right? Like, I lost my thought a little bit there, because every time I hear Greta's name, I don't want to use the word triggered, but like,
you too.
I get this flood of adrenaline where I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Petulant child.
Awesome. I'm gonna get banned, I can tell.
You should have never brought me on your channel.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I actually want that badge of honor.
We'll just create a new channel. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's
Save the video
so
and
true.
repost it.
So true. Yeah, very, very, very true. Another thing too that you had said there that I meant to take a quick note there, but yeah, it's escaping me. But this is an important conversation. This is by far one of the most important conversations we can be having right now. This is why when I first met you and I saw the work that you were doing, I was like, this is where my first roundtable has to be. We have to get the men, bring them together, and help them see the importance of that brotherhood, to help them see the importance of leadership and taking that self-responsibility. So, what would you say would be the kind of that first thing that men can do for themselves, like tonight after this is done? What is something that men can do right away that's going to help them get oriented towards this embracing and reconnecting with their masculinity?
I would say first step, I mean, it's going to be different for everybody. Everyone's going to kind of respond differently, right? I mean, I would say, if I'm being really harsh about it, I'd say go do some fucking burpees and get into your body, do some breath work, do some like heavy breathing, like get into your body and then give yourself some space to reflect, like literally just reflect on what masculinity is and then start to break it down. Like every time you ask a question, like you can ask like what is masculinity to me? Give your answer and then ask another fucking question. Like continue to break it down and get deeper and deeper so you can figure out the foundational fabric of what masculinity is. And then you start to test it against people in your community. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think that I have the perfect final answer of what healthy integrated masculinity is, but I have an idea of where I'm starting, what I'm working with, and I try and share it as much as I fucking can with anybody who will listen, including everyone who's listening right now. And my expectation and the ask that I have for my community and my brotherhood is to test me, is to press me, to ask me why it is that I believe that. And if I can't fucking explain it, or if I don't have any way of like articulating it, then I can rethink it. And then I get to make sure I ask myself why I can't do that. Like if I can't answer a question about the importance of how I'm expressing my masculinity or moving through my life and with this energy, then why am I doing it?
Right.
It's unconscious then, and I don't have an answer. And so I need to change. I need to grow. I need to shift. And sometimes it fucking sucks. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. I hate it every time. And it happens all the time. Like you have to be willing. And if you go to our website and we have our values posted there, and you can scroll through them. And I didn't put them in any sort of hierarchical order, but if I had to, I would say personal responsibility is maybe number one. Second is humility. You need to be willing to let the fuck go of what you think you are, and you need to be able to shift and adjust and rethink and remake up who you are from moment to moment. But you need to be ruthless in making sure you're doing it at the right time. You need to be able to test yourself, because if you do it without any checks or balances, and you hear a new idea and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not gonna test it. I'm just gonna, like, that sounds good, I'm gonna take that and run with it. Then you're no better off. You haven't tested the integrity of an idea that you're going to incorporate into your life and your expression. And so it's probably not going to hold water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or if it does, I mean, how many times are you going to roll those dice?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You're bound to crap out eventually.
Yeah. 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 No, that's good, and I like that. Getting in touch with your body. Like a lot of people are really disconnected with that, and they don't even know how to recognize what they're hungry for. Sometimes, it's different hungers give you indications of what nutrients you need. And many times people are just not. They're not even aware of their body enough to know what their body needs for nutrients, and that nutrients can come in the form of food, but also physical exercise. Getting out there, do some martial arts, maybe. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is amazing, because you're faced with, every single time you go and hit the mat, you're faced with the possibility of being choked to death. That gets you present with your body very quickly. And then food, one of the major components behind ManCraft and what you're teaching is found in nutrition craft as well. And we're really excited about that aspect coming as that rounds out, because that's something that I've noticed for myself made the biggest difference in my life. I was approaching 200 pounds, and not that that's too heavy, but of my stature, it sure was. I was very unhealthy. I got stretch marks on my thighs because of how much weight I put on. And, just simply by cutting out, the inflammatory foods and going to, a very paleoistic, it was very paleo. I probably went strict paleo for about 3 months, and I lost 60 pounds right out of the gate. And then I kind of dipped down and then came back up and found an equilibrium around 168 or so. And the health, vitality, the energy. I mean, just if you ever want to know what it feels like to lose a lot of weight and just give yourself an idea, just a glimpse of how much energy you have, go grab yourself a milk crate, fill it full of books, and go up and down the stairs 2 times. That's how much extra energy you're having to push around with that extra 40, 50 pounds on you. Just realize that is a lot of energy that you could be using elsewhere other than hauling your fat ass around.
Yeah, I love that. You want some vitality? Quit dragging extra fat around, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to be I'm not a nutrition expert. I like nutrition craft. The reason I think it's going to be so important and vital, and like whether you use nutrition craft, it's just a good option to find like a very healthy, locally sourced space for meats and for fruits and vegetables and things like that. But you can get it's more about the quality of food. And I'm not a nutritionist, and I've been banging my drum about the varying needs and desires of the individual person. So I'm not going to tell you that there's some prescribed way to eat that's going to be best for you, and I don't think any guy should. And anyone who tells you they have some secret diet, like everyone should be paleo, everyone should be vegan, those people are fucking lunatics, and they don't understand the complexity and the like just the intense complexity of our guts and our like our, oh my god, what's the word that Zach Bush uses? I love he talks about our gut, biome, the biome. Yeah. Like there's so much going on in there, and it's important to, as you start to do those embodiment practices, you start to work out more, you start to like take some time and really focus on being present. You start to connect to your breath and how you're breathing as you do movements. So like when you hang up this call and you go do your 10 burpees, feel all of the fucking ways in which your body is screaming at you, and making sure that you're breathing, and you're gonna start to get a lesson in how to listen to your body. You're gonna get a lesson in how to recognize the way your body is speaking to you, because it always is. We just have been conditioned to ignore it and not to listen. And the more, if we're talking about like what men can do, like get present with your body, learn how to be in communication with it, because it'll tell you more than what you need for nutrients. But that's a good start. It'll tell you, like, if you eat something like garbage, it's going to tell you through your gut, and you're going to be able to listen to it if you're paying attention. But then going further, like, in a more macro scale, your body will also tell you when you're making a poor fucking decision. When something comes upon you and you are put in this position of making a choice or a decision, you can listen to your gut. Like, you need to be able to trust that. You need to be able to be present with yourself. You need to be able to ground yourself. You need to know how to choose discernment and make sure that you are, listening to the direction of your being, not just what you think other people should like need from you. You need to be able to circumvent the social pressures and conditioning that we've been given, and make a decision for yourself, because that is the one that is going to lead us out of this. Yeah,
beautifully said.
Kind of all over the place there. We went from diet, nutrition to, what we can do for ourselves. So
yeah, well, and the body, the physical body is the instrument, right? Like you've got that intention, you can have the purpose, but I mean, if your body can't support it, it's like saying you don't have the community to support a new society, right? You that body is the engine, the vehicle that you need to be able to accomplish what you need to do for your family and your community. So yeah, no, it's that body's, yeah, it's, take care of it. You only get one. And and again, one of those things about wokeism is like, oh no, the dad bod's cool, that's fine. Yeah, okay, so it's not wrong to have a dad bod, but it certainly isn't good to stay there. Like you need that physical prowess. Arguably more now than ever, considering just how much the cycle of time has brought us to some hard times coming up. Like the fact that we're facing an economic collapse, the fact that we're facing a societal collapse, the fact that our governments aren't able to maintain any sense of responsibility for fiscal responsibility. All of these things are going to be piling up in a matter of months, and men are going to be put in a position where if they are not stepping forward and making their mark, there's no direction that we're not going to be able to go in a direction in society that supports strong nations. Men build nations. Women can say whatever they want about that and say, well, no, we're a part of that too. Yes, you are a part of it, but not in the building part of it. You're part of this. Is where we get into that talk about equality. We build it, you help us nurture it, right? And if that support isn't there for you, forget it. It's not going to happen. And the other thing that I was going to say was, the pursuit. If you were to go back, to 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 years ago, what we needed to do to survive looked a lot different than it is today. We've got this miracle of oil that has really made us a bunch of pansies. Let's just be honest. Back then, to be able to go and complete the hunt, you didn't go by yourself. You couldn't go by yourself. The very thing that you were needing to bring back to your family, to feed it, to feed the family and the community together, the very thing that you needed to eat was also very well equipped to kill you. You needed community. In fact, without it, you died. That's why it's so important that we have that closeness and that brotherhood in place, because we have a completely different type of hunt right now. And it's a hunt for who we are. And this calls for a death to self, because that old self is going to kill you. Just like the predator of old, or your prey could also kill you, right? Yeah. So this old self, if you let it run, if you keep on feeding it, if you keep on letting it run the show, it'll kill you. And so you have a choice to make. And I liken this one, and I'll finish off with just this anecdote. In The Matrix is a beautiful documentary. I call it that because it's not really a movie, but there's one part there where Neo's seeing the Oracle, and she says this one line, and I'll do a full presentation on this eventually, but she says this one line where, it's, you're not the one. It's like you're waiting for your next life or something like that. And that's just the way things are, and, at one point she says, you're going to be faced with a choice. On the one hand, you're going to have Morpheus, this man that helped you grow and become who you are today, and understanding how the Matrix works. This man is, you're going to have the opportunity. You're going to have in one hand, you're going to have Morpheus's life, and in another hand, you'll have your own life. One of you is going to have to die, and which one is up to you. That's a very, very key line, because she's not saying, like, yes, she said, you're going to have Morpheus's life in your hand and you'll have your life in the other hand. But when she said one of you is going to have to die, she wasn't saying you're going to choose between you and Morpheus. One of you is going to have to die. Is it going to be the old self? Because that's the old self that's holding you down. That's the old self that's dragging you back. That's the old self that feels like a ball and chain when you show up for work and you're just like, man, why is this such a drag? That's the old self talking. You're going to have to hunt down that old self and figure out how to kill it, because it will forever drag you down. And the only way that you're going to be able to have that level of comprehension of that old self, that degenerate, is if you've got a brotherhood that can help you see the blind spots in your life and be able to say, hey, I can see this is an area that you might need some help in taking down that beast, in taking down that predator, in taking down that tyrant, because that tyrant right now is running your life.
I like it. I love the progression, and I think I think we're ultimately always trying to grow, and I mean we're trying to I can't say it any better than you did. We're trying to slay our old selves. We need to, like, a growth progression. It's necessary, and I like the way you talked about, hunting parties and going out and oil and gas is made us soft and weak, and petroleum, and it's true, and it's beautiful. I don't think going back is the answer. I don't think we need to like why would we this is fucking amazing. I can talk to you guys on like over the internet on an iPad, and that's pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. But what it does mean is that we don't rely on the circumstances of having to go for a hunt to test ourselves, to press ourselves, to put ourselves in circumstances like out of necessity to grow and develop and progress. Which means that now in today's times, in order to move forward, and how we should move forward is to create the circumstances where we are challenging each other into those places in a safe-ish. I think the more safe you choose these things, the less progression and the less growth you get. The more you test yourself, the more you challenge yourself, the more you encourage your brothers to challenge you, the more you put yourself into circumstances that press you, the more you are going to tear and grow and come back. You're going to kill that old version of yourself every time you you put yourself in an uncomfortable circumstance. And we have to understand the importance of discomfort and pain, and the amount of discomfort and pain that you are willing to put yourself into or through is going to dictate how much you level up, how much strength and vitality you bring into this world. And we don't honor it, and we don't push it forward in the way that we should be. And that's why we need to be here now, because if we are moving into these hard times like you and I see, then we need to get ahead of the curve here. We need to make sure that we are hardening ourselves and preparing for what is coming, so that we aren't playing fucking catch up. And the beautiful thing about it is that if you aren't in the place that you think you should be right now and you're listening to this, that just means that you're already ahead of the curve, step one, because you're listening about it, you're listening to it, you're talking about it, and now you're thinking about it. It would take very little for you in the current landscape and the current state of our masculine presence on this planet. It would take very little for you to bring yourself into the top percentages of masculine men and the leaders of our world. Very little. You would probably be in that position within a month or two if you committed yourself to eating right, drinking water, not going to McDonald's like a few times here and there, like going to the gym, 3 times a week would probably put you ahead of most, like the majority of the population. Like, just go and work yourself out, pick up a sport, go do a martial art, test yourself, like start to have these conversations and reflection points, and all of a sudden, 4 to 8 weeks passes and you've transformed who you are. The beautiful thing is that it's actually something that you can see in yourself. You're gonna look at yourself in the mirror and realize, I'm not who I was 8 weeks ago, and I feel better for it.
Yeah. So true. Wayne, you're on the line as well here, 45 minutes in, and haven't had a chance to hear you talk yet. Feel free to unmute yourself there, and love to hear what it is that you've gotten out of this conversation, and maybe even where you see some challenges for yourself that are ahead, and how can the Brotherhood help you out?
Awesome, man. Thanks for asking. Actually, this is my first time joining you guys, so I didn't mind just sitting back and listening and trying to soak it all in, and get the gist of everything. I think you guys are on point. As far as the woke culture is concerned, it's a culture of chaos. That's the way they want it. They don't want it easily figured out. They don't want it to be sensible. They don't want it to have any value. They see it as a value, but anybody with a bit of common sense can see that it's I think we spoke about this before. It's a snake eating its own tail. Eventually it'll just eat itself, and disappear. It's happened many times over the course of history. Civilizations have deteriorated, gone woke, and disappeared, and here we are again doing the same experiment, for, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th time. But yeah, I'm in agreement with everything you guys have been talking about. I can give you some examples from, or some idea of when I was young, and even then it was already starting to change. It was already starting to change. I grew up in a household with 3 sisters and a mom and a dad. Dad was super masculine, and mom was super feminine, but she had to take on maybe a few little masculine roles, but even then I was being taught to not buckle, but to be a little more sensitive to the feminine side, let's say.
Be agreeable.
Yeah, maybe that would be a good word, right? And I was seen as maybe a little too rough or a little too this or that, because I didn't quite get it. I was like, well, why do I have to be that way? Like, I would work with my dad during the day, and then on the weekend I'd have to clean a toilet or something and help around the house, which was okay. But the girls didn't have to go work with dad. How come? It just didn't seem to be the same playing field. But I couldn't argue it because there's more of them than me. Right. So and I'm not saying anything detrimental. I'm not calling anybody down or whatnot. But I could see it happening, and as I grew older, I could see that there was governmental bodies out there, agencies and whatnot, that were suppressing the male point of view, or, and I don't want to be too out there, but the masculinity was starting to be eroded. I brought up a stepson. He wasn't mine, so I brought him up. And because I looked after him way longer than his own dad did, I was on the hook. After we separated, I would have been on the hook to keep looking after him. His father wasn't around, and the court didn't think it was proper that his father should kind of pitch in. It was me, right? So yeah, I've seen things over the years that you can tell things are changing, right? Here we are today, right? But besides that, I think I'm going to join more of these conversations, and I'll get a little more articulate in what I want to try to share, But yeah, I don't want to go too far out or whatever. But yeah, how could I put it? Strength in numbers, you know, and it's nice to know that there's someone you can count on, someone you can lean on, you know, like that song goes, lean on me when you're not strong, right? Hopefully there'll be another man there that can kind of prop you up a little bit till you can get back on your feet, right? So yeah.
Yep, awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate the insight and the share.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you guys too.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing more of your thoughts and your perspective in the ManCraft community there.
Yeah,
great.
We're gonna have a bunch of areas for those specific topics where we're gonna get more in depth. You know, talking about what it means to be a husband and all the different areas, including separation and divorce and things like that. You know, and then the history. We're gonna be doing quite a bit of talking about the history of masculinity and the origins through the different major areas that have helped shape it, and then moving into the modern era where we see that that notion of what it means to be a man. And I think it's interesting too. I want to create a bit more clarity around what ManCraft's vision, I guess, is of masculinity, because I want to be pretty clear in the that it is going to require a lot of nuance. I want to use words like traditional, but I also do not want to be promoting the entirety of the previous 150 years prior to this big step of erosion. So like the 1800s to 1950, like 1930s, 40s, 50s. That is not the form of masculinity that I'm talking about when I talk about traditional masculinity. I'm talking more about the even before that, like moving pre-industrial revolution masculinity, and where we aren't domineering or there's no ownership of women. I think that in its essence, masculinity is honoring of the feminine and women, and we are in relationship, in grace, and in love with women. And so that masculine essence I'm talking about, that harshness, that spiciness, that call to action, that protective nature is beautiful. But to remember that in relationship with our wives and our girlfriends, it is there is space for our feminine as well to begin to have softness, to have love, to have all of those things for those relationships. And especially with our daughters, when we're raising our daughters, they need present fathers. They need to experience love and support and structure. And that is going to be a huge piece of what we want to communicate. And and we'll talk about fatherhood too, but I believe that all children are inherently feminine in their nature until they're about, until they start getting into those preteens ages where they start to develop and they start to move into adulthood in their biological sense. I think that they require a significantly larger portion of that feminine, loving, compassionate, nurturing energy. And I would like to just be very clear that I'm talking about masculinity in this way, in this very harsh way. I think that's what's needed in the world, and I want to push that forward. I want to have that conversation because it's what's needed right now. But I do not think it is. I think it is a very dangerous thing that we potentially run into, where we are not in balance with our own feminine and masculine polarity. And the same goes for women. Women have both, men have both. We need to be fostering more masculinity right now without forgetting and losing our capacity for softness. We
want to be masculine, but we don't want to be overbearing and dominant. Like, we want to be inclusive and we want to be like you said, we want to be nurturing and we want to be understanding, and we want to offer solutions and listen to solutions coming back towards us, right? Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, like sometimes I think it's again, the nuance is there's so much nuance. I think it's like it depends on where you are and what relationship and which interaction you're having, right? I think it's important that like we discern, and we use that discernment to figure out where it's required. And like not everyone deserves that energy. Like we don't need to be in this apologetic place either, right? Like if we choose harshness, we need to be able to stand behind it, right? And yeah, it's just I think it's important.
Yeah, it's got to be warranted, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Harshness without warrant is abuse, really, right?
Tyranny, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to be in tyranny.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't want to. We're trying to stop that right now, not add to it.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it's interesting, the harshness, there's a balance though, right? Because I mean, if someone were to harm or threaten to harm you and your family, you're going to end up being harsh with them, right?
Oh, well, that's warranted.
Yeah, and that definitely warranted. And the problem that I think that we have right now, one of the problems, is that there isn't a community where men can feel like if they were to rise into that level of dangerousness, that they don't have, no one's got their back. I know for myself, every time that I've ever felt timid, it's not been that I wished, it's not that I was glad that I was timid. It was that I didn't feel like if I had been brave and something bad were to happen, that I would be okay, that there would be someone there to say, hey, you know what, you messed up, pick yourself up, let's go, we can try this again. When you feel isolated, it's actually very difficult to be when you feel isolated, it's difficult to be masculine. I mean, it's again, it goes back to going on that hunt. If you're by yourself going up against a mammoth, you're probably not going to go up against the mammoth, like when it comes right down to it, because you're going to realize, crap, I really, really needed that. I really need that help to be able to, keep the mammoth distracted over there so that I can make my mark and push my spear into the chest. Right. It's not much different when we're facing ourselves. We're going to need that support. We're going to need that outside perspective. Right.
Yeah.
We're missing that. We're missing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all these lockdowns and all these silly little distractions and these that are causing division, among the masculine population, isn't helping things at all. It's really causing a lot of division. So yeah, we got to move past these stupid little things and get on with it, right? Yeah. You can tell that there's a structured plan to demolish masculinity. It's written all over the place, and it starts and they're going after the youngest. They're going to indoctrinate them right off the cuff. Right?
Yep. And then again, we go back to how it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 years ago.
Yeah.
When there was an outside threat coming to take on the community, what did we do? We formed our circles. We put our backs against each other and we said, we got this.
I think I on that topic of they're coming for the masculinity, I think you're right, but I don't think that's the foundation of it. I think they're actually coming for our women. I think they're coming for femininity. I think they're coming for they're subverting it. And again, it's the nihilist, right? It's the in order to truly be nihilist and try and stop the growth and stop the life affirmation, we have to stop the thing that creates life. And I think the best way for them in their eyes to be able to do that is to get rid of the protectors and to soften them and to and then they subvert the women, right? Like we look at the feminism movements and they're convincing women that it's it's a great idea to go to work. It's a great idea to work for the man, and don't worry about giving birth. It's a dangerous world. You don't want to bring life into this world. It's uncertain. Also, you need. What about your career? What about don't you want to be a part of the man's world? If men can do it, why can't you? And they pit us against each other, right? And then all of a sudden they make it it's just this slow progression of oh well now, as a man, if you don't support women, you must be a misogynist. You must if you don't think they're as good as you, or and they've convinced us that. They've convinced us that that's actually what's right and what's good for women, and they've convinced women that the beauty of their own energy is inherently worthless. Which is the irony is that it is so misogynistic. is like this idea that there's not the most important fucking thing in being alive is the ability to create life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can't argue with that.
So I think they're coming for women, and I think that should be a better call to men. You know, it's easy for us to self-sacrifice, and if they're coming for us, then so be it. Whatever, right? We can self-flagellate, and we can choose to be the martyr. But I think that, I mean, at least in my eyes, it becomes a lot easier for me to pick up arms and to understand the importance and the severity of the situation when I'm fighting for, you know, like for the feminine and for all of the like for the future legacy of humanity. Like it has that more heroic, like we're on a hero's journey. We need to understand that what we're fighting for is more than ourselves. We are fighting for the collective. We need to understand that if we're going to create a safe future, we need to prepare ourselves for what is coming.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a physical fight. Likely it isn't, and it shouldn't be, because we don't want to be like violence isn't the answer always. Sometimes it is, but in this circumstance, it's making ourselves into the strongest energetic force we can, so that we can guide and direct things.
Yeah, well, it's fifth generation warfare, so it's not going to be picking up the weapons. It's not going to be forming the lines. It's not going to be forming the same front, the battle fronts that we have in the past, because the war is fought differently. You know, this is a war against our consciousness. And so, you know, I hate to be sounding like a broken record, but, you know, if it's a war against our consciousness, how do you defend against that? And how do you stop an assault like that? Like what you're saying is so true. They're going after the women. And if you think that's not the case, go and watch, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, there was in the women's mixed martial arts, this dude, call him for what he is, goes and enters the ring, and beats the woman to a pulp, and glorified for it. He was glorified for being able to make her face all bloodied up, you know. And
brave.
That's great, wonderful now, right? That's kind of where, like, I think that for me, I see that and I'm just like, wow, you know, you would think that we would have crossed the line before that.
You'd think.
You know, you'd think that
there's been many opportunities for us to have recognized the fucking lunacy.
How much further are we willing to take this? You know, how much further are we willing to tolerate this assault? And you know, we've got to, because it is a war against our consciousness. You know, that the way that we form our defenses needs to be it needs to look different physically, but the principle is still the same, and that is get that brotherhood. Get the men who, you know, they've got your back, where you feel like you're safe in being dangerous, where you can stick your head out and possibly risk dying, but still feel good about it, right? Knowing that you're doing the right thing and you've got people behind you.
We need to be prepared, right? I like as far as like being ready to be dangerous. I like Trevor Boehm's book. He has Man Uncivilized, and he talks about be dangerous but not a danger, right? We're like be prepared for whatever, and like make sure that if violence comes to you, be prepared to meet it. Be prepared to go to the end. Because you have to. Otherwise, it's all just fucking words and talk, and you're just no better than those Antifa plugs I was talking about earlier. You're just a limp dick. Like, you're fucking useless. So be prepared, get dangerous, go to the gym, spar with friends, like mentally, physically, emotionally, be prepared for whatever is coming your way. Because again, it's a consciousness war. It likely won't come in the form of violence, but just in case, go to the fucking gym, throw a punch, learn how to like shoot a gun. It's not a bad idea. Probably good. Maybe go learn how to shoot a bow and arrow in case things go proper sideways. Like learn some new skills. Like competency is another thing. We could talk for hours. Like, honestly, and if you join the community, which I'm going to do a little closing bit here in a minute. Like, when you join the community, we're going to get into competency quite a bit. We're going to get into a lot of different things, but competency, and we're going to try and create a thread of communicating what you're competent in, and we're going to start to share our competencies with each other. Like, so if you have interests, we're going to get some shared interest groups together, and we're going to start to learn some new skills. We're going to start to prepare ourselves. So whether it's woodworking, whether it's archery, whether it's backcountry guiding, whether it's
skilled trade, anything.
Get confident, and get going.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to fight the war, right? So with that, I think we're over an hour now, so I'll start to wrap it up here. Do we have links up on the, where can people find the links? There we go. Links are right here. Go check out the website. Have a look around. I'm going to give you a quick brief rundown on what we offer. We have, I'm going to start with we'll go small to large. The community is currently in pre-launch. We are going to be launching it. We're going to be doing a slow launch over the course of the next 7 to 10 days, roughly. It's going to be, we're just in production right now, and we're, wrapping up some of the editing and things like that. Get into the community. The free portion is called Approach. You can sign up on our website. It'll take you to Discord, create an account. I recommend turning on your notifications. We're going to use the @ so we're going to have an instruction guide in there for everyone to use it, hot tips and things like that. Go in, create an account, do an intro video. We want to know who you are. When you create your account, nickname yourself your real name so we know who you are. We're not hiding behind pseudonyms. We are who we are. We want to embrace each other. I don't want to be trying to remember some username that you think is clever, as clever as that may be. And then you can go in. We have the general chat. We have a co-work space you can jump into in the man cave. So that's going to be video or audio, and you can start to talk to each other. Just start in there and get engaged, get familiarized with the community. You can upgrade to our Ascend, which is a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription, where you're going to get access to all the other aspects of ManCraft, which is going to be in this series about roles and masculinity. So if you want to start talking about, what it means to be a husband and all the different areas that are involved in that, being a father, being a leader, we're going to have that. We're going to have the history of masculinity. We're going to the origins of masculinity, getting back to, when we were hunting. We're going to have a bunch of lore, a bunch of myths. We're going to talk about narrative. We're going to have going into the industrial revolution, going through the Great Wars and what that did to masculinity and into the modern era. We're also going to be having, again, competency. We're going to have some community building and things like that. We're going to be able to get into, making yourself better and testing yourself against other men. We're going to really encourage in-person meetups there. So whether you're in Edmonton, Calgary, Banff, Canmore, anywhere in the world, really, eventually we're going to try and get some people together and do some in-person meetups, because in-person is the best. We don't want everyone just sitting behind a keyboard all the time. We're going to have, this part will take a little bit, but we're going to be doing a guided workshop series where we'll start with just myself for the time being. I'm going to have some guided meditations. I'm going to teach about breath work, whether it's conscious connected breathing, where you're laying down and you're getting into yourself, into your emotions, into the vulnerability of your being. We're going to have some of that guided work there. We're also going to have some more fire building Ashtanga and Kundalini yoga to get into some breath in your yoga practice. And I think we're gonna have some weightlifting beginner tips and tricks as well from one of the other members as well, that we're currently trying to figure out and work out the details on. But those will be coming through probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Everything else should start to trickle in information in the next 7 to 10 days. Next we have it's called ManCraft 1. It's gonna be our landmark offering. It kind of comes in 2 different ways to engage. It has a 4-day retreat that you can do. We're gonna be on the backcountry in Alberta here. It's gonna be kind of between Calgary and Edmonton. We're gonna be getting into some programming, group roundtable discussions in person around a fire, really embodied in nature. No technology and phones and whatnot. We're gonna get into some group breath work where we're building energy together. We're gonna do some hypno work with Greg from Lifecraft. We're going to be getting into we're going to be testing our limits and edges a little bit by doing some mountain climbing, doing some via ferratas out there that'll be guided for us. It's very achievable, and so it gives you that rush and that build and that feeling of vitality that we were talking about earlier. And that's going to be a great way to kind of give you a reset. And you can do just that on its own, or you can do it in the entire package as we really intended to be, which is ManCraft 1, which is going to be the 4-day retreat followed by Purpose Craft, which is led by Greg and his team, where you get into some LifeCraft therapy sessions, which is that hypnotherapy, which is going to be a way to get you connected into your subconscious being, out of your conscious mind into your body, where you can then feel into what your purpose really is. You can start to clear away some of the self-limiting beliefs, some of the things that are holding you back, the fears, and you can really, really consciously connect and unconsciously connect to what you're supposed to be doing right now in your life, not just now in this moment, in the big scheme of things, and how that works. And then you also get, with that ManCraft One price tag, you're going to get a lifetime access to our Ascend community, so you'll have constant access to that community. And now that I've got all that out, I've just remembered that there's one very, very important piece of the Ascend portion of the community that is very important. Every week we're going to be starting off with just once a week. We're going to be doing an online weekly men's group called The Forge, where we're going to be getting men together. Depending on how big it is and how things go, we're going to maybe do 2 or 3 evenings a week, depending. But we're going to get into some men's work exercises, getting into some shadow work, getting into, some of that, building up some of that fire inside ourselves, and again, removing some of the barriers that maybe get in the way for us. And that's going to be a great opportunity. Most places that are doing those men's work, the men's group men's work, are they're more expensive than the Ascend community cost on their own, and so you're getting a ton of value by joining that part of the community. That is pretty much. Oh, one last thing. 2 last things. It's never ending. This weekend, if you are in the Calgary area, we're doing a trade show booth at the Cochrane Spray Lakes Community Center, the sports center there. If you want to come by, meet me in person, meet Greg from LifeCraft in person. We're also going to be having nutrition craft out there, so we're going to have a whole bunch of nutritious foods and meats and things like that you can come and check out. I'd be happy to chat with anybody who wants to come out there. And lastly, Monday, May 8th, we're having, and everybody's invited, we're going to the Calgary Climbing Center up by Rocky Mountain, or by Rocky View, just off of 16th. You can check out, once you're in the community, go get signed up ASAP. It's in the events. You can register to sign up. We're going to do some bouldering. We're going to do some breath work and some connected time, and just get to meet everybody that's coming out to the community.
Awesome.
Beauty.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, folks, the link's on there, mancraft.lifecraft.me. Definitely go and check that out. We've got, there is a way to access the community prior to the launch. But, in order for us to do that, in order for us to build this community, you need to be a part of that. This is your chance to become a leader. You're going to be one of the first ones in, but you have an opportunity to be even earlier and help shape this community, be a part of its evolution. And as a result, what we're doing is we're going to be giving you some incentives, some thanks for helping us out. First of all, by giving you early access to the community, just for inviting some people, but then also we'll be making sure that we're going to throw in some incentives to make it more affordable. So some people out there, we've got issues. Everybody's got some monetary issues right now. I mean, take a look at what's going on in the world. So we recognize that there are going to be some people that, maybe, that $400 a year is a pretty steep, that's a steep commitment for them, but they know that this is the direction that they need to go. And so when they step forward and take that leadership, we recognize that commitment and the price that they're willing to pay, and we're willing to thank them very much for helping give this community a good jump start. So definitely share lots. Let's build this thing up, and for crying out loud, let's go and save this nation from the wokeism and the stagnatism, the nihilism, the mediocre. Let us not. I'm going to close with a really good quote. This quote actually comes from. This quote comes from Socrates, and I've heard it before, but today it was brought across my desk, and it was just perfect for today, and we're going to close it with it. It is not difficult to avoid death, gentlemen. It is much more difficult to avoid wickedness, for it runs faster than death.
Mm-hmm.
Get that fire building.
Yep. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night.
Guys.
It was a real pleasure, guys. It was really nice to be included, and it was nice to see you there.
It's nice to see you as well.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
Take care.
See you later, guys.
See ya.